you're here with
It's Brett Scott.
Brett Scott, BS with Joe. So, Joe, this is going to be a segment we're going to do. It's going to be New Year's resolutions.
Okay.
So, it's not just going to be for me and you. I'm thinking this should be for the American public.
A resolution for America.
That's it. So, what are some of the things you think that Americans should be doing for this new year?
Well, I think that it can never hurt to try and improve your physical shape.
Yes.
You know, whether that is just get off the couch and go for a walk, or run a 5K, just something. Do something.
Be physically fit.
Well, not even be physically fit. Just do something to improve.
Improve. Yeah, if you improve 1% a day for a year, you're improving
12%.
12%. That's a huge improvement.
It is.
So, you're right. Getting in shape or doing some sort of physical exercise. I think that would go far in so many ways. That's not physical health, but it would also go great with mental health.
Yeah, and it would probably do some to improve our healthcare situation.
Yes. So anyone who's complaining about our healthcare providers or costs of healthcare, the best way to
Make it cheaper.
make it cheaper is by being better fit.
Yeah, make it cost less.
Cost less.
Make it cost less for the providers.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And I know that's what every American probably has a resolution for is to get fit, be healthy.
Yep.
Just move. Just get out there and do something. And just do a little bit every day if you can. Just one little thing a day. Just maybe just force yourself to wake up a little earlier. And instead of eating like processed cereals or something like that, eat eggs.
Yeah, there's a diet that's been floating around Instagram and X and that's the hard-boiled egg diet.
Mm-hmm.
Like they say you can lose 40 pounds in a month.
Bodybuilders eat boiled eggs all the time.
Yeah.
It's one of the best sources of proteins.
Right. And they're cheap.
And well,
Relatively
cheap. We're hoping that inflation doesn't rear its ugly head and make it more
As far as
expensive.
proteins are concerned,
Yeah.
chicken eggs are a lot cheaper than chicken breast.
Yes. Yes, they are. And so that goes to resolution number 2, I think, is eat healthier.
Eat healthier, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I know McDonald's is begging us with their value meals and all this stuff because food's expensive.
You know what?
But eggs are cheap
Sometimes you get off work and you arrive at home and you open the fridge door and you look at it and you're like, you know what? I gotta cook that. I gotta prepare that. You open the freezer. There's a frozen pizza. I don't feel like a frozen pizza. McDonald's.
too. Yeah. And so, that's with anything else. If you want to improve on anything, you got to put in the work.
Right.
So just tell yourself, if I want it, I got to work for it.
There was a thing that I read about battling depression recently that was just talking about just get up. Do your routine.
Create a routine.
Yes. Create a routine. Take a shower. Actually cook something.
Clean your room.
Yes. Do something to improve your situation, even if it's for the next 10 minutes.
Even if it's just for 1 minute.
Yeah.
Just do something.
And that can help you to battle depression.
Depression's a very hard thing. I only dealt with it one time in my life, and it was it's dark. It's scary.
It's a deep hole.
It's a deep hole. But yeah, there's always light. Just look for the light. Work towards that light.
Yeah.
So, I think number 3 should be financial.
Okay.
And it goes, I think all this kind of goes hand in hand. when you're more physically fit, you may spend less on
Food?
on food and healthcare.
Yeah.
And
Actually, that's not true. If you're more physically fit, you're probably spending more on food because eating healthy is expensive.
it is, unless you've got a reserve,
Right.
and then you can probably just work on eggs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there is a will. Where there's a will, there's a way. You gotta have that will, so try to focus on that will. Create a routine. Eat healthier. And I think finances will come and play with that, because if you got the fortitude to create a routine and an exercise plan and a meal plan, you're going to be more financially responsible.
Here's one of my resolutions for this year. I want to physically meet all of my local representatives.
That is huge.
Yes.
That's a big task.
I want to meet the county commissioner. I want to meet the mayor of Orlando. I want to meet the secretary of elections. I want to meet these people.
Pick their brain, maybe.
I'd love to invite them to appear on our show over the phone.
That would be amazing. I'd have to do my research and think of things to ask them.
Yeah. But even just to meet them and say, what's your vision? What do you see happening in the next 5 years?
How do you want to achieve those goals?
Yeah.
Just little. I already got the questions. I don't even need to. Let's just do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing, as far as our show goes, I'd like to see if we can get an OPD officer or an Orange County Sheriff to talk with us.
That would be great. Yeah, because we're
Or Kissimmee.
because I've been talking about some murders that have happened here in Kissimmee in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
It's getting pretty brutal and vicious this now.
There was a shooting on a Lynx bus just last week.
Yeah. Where was that at? What county?
It was Orange County, East Colonial.
No surprise.
Yeah. And the driver was not involved.
Good.
It was an accidental discharge
Ah.
where a woman got shot in the leg, and she's fine, she's stable, but yeah, it was an accidental. It wasn't on purpose. It was an accidental discharge, but still, it was a shooting.
Yes. And I feel that everybody should be armed, but know what you're doing with your firearms.
Yeah, that was my point. When they told me accidental discharge, I was like, there's no such thing.
Yeah.
If you know about firearms and you know how to handle firearms, there's no such thing as an accidental
No.
discharge.
Because you're always going to pull the trigger with a purpose.
Yep. Now, somebody also said something about supposedly a Glock with the safety on can still be fired with a certain amount of pressure on the trigger.
Well, yeah, but you got to have something in the trigger.
Right.
So
There's something has to be chambered.
something has. Well, I believe that you should have a round in the chamber. I know there's a lot of different opinions on that.
Yeah, there is.
But I still believe Glocks are one of the safest tools.
I think that depends on the situation. If you're talking about the weapon by your bedside, okay, yeah, keep one in the chamber. If you're talking about the one on your hip when you're walking through town, I don't know that you need one in the chamber.
I do. I really do. I think you need one in the chamber. Because I've seen a video of a off-duty police officer. He had a Glock.
Mm-hmm.
He had a firearm, and I believe he had it in a holster. He wound up in a shootout. And he wound up dying because he didn't have one in the chamber. He kept pulling that trigger expecting something to happen. And it was just went click and nothing. And he didn't have time to assess the situation and chamber around.
He had not been trained enough to fall back on his automatic training of.
Well, you think about it, you're right.
Yeah.
And no, actually,
Because it should be that should be an automatic thing.
it should be. But here's the thing: law enforcement officers are trained to draw and pull the trigger because law enforcement officers already have one in the chamber.
Right.
So
That's the way his training was. So he should have fell back on his training.
well, yeah, if he had one in the chamber,
If
but
he had
that's
one in
if
the chamber, he would have been fine. But
he didn't have one in the chamber,
yeah,
and he didn't have time to assess that. Oh, this is why.
right.
And remember, an officer always has one in the chamber. So he thought he had one in the chamber, but he didn't. So that's why I'm always going to err with have one on the chamber. But with that, know your firearm and use the correct holster.
Yeah.
All right. Don't be a woman in a purse and have a Glock in your purse without a trigger guard.
And I personally, when I heard that Glocks could be fired with the safety on, I'm completely against that.
Well, Glock firearms, for those who don't know anything about firearms, Glocks have 3 safeties.
Okay.
But all 3 safeties are in the trigger.
Okay.
So there's no like secondary safety that you flip with your thumb. So one's a drop safety. It's an internal safety. So if you drop it, it won't go off.
Okay.
Because the striker is always under tension. So the drop safety prevents. So when you drop it, that striker doesn't go off.
Right.
That's what the drop safety prevents.
Okay.
That can only be disengaged with the trigger pull.
Okay.
There's a second safety. I don't know what that one is, but then there's the trigger safety. The trigger's got a little,
X pounds of pressure before.
well, no, it's got a little fin.
Oh.
So you have to push down that fin with your finger. Then you got to pull the trigger. Now anything can push down that fin,
Right.
and anything can pull the trigger. That's why, if you have a good trigger guard,
Right.
it won't go off.
See, not like a Smith and Wesson that has a secondary safety, it doesn't really need
Well,
a trigger guard.
Yeah, so like if I had any firearm in a purse, the only firearm that
Derringer.
no Derringer is even
They have no safety.
They have no safety. Even your revolvers don't even have safeties.
That's true, but if it's not cocked, it's going to take a lot of pressure to pull that trigger.
Right, but it's still anything can pull that trigger.
Yeah.
So there's a pistol that Smith & Wesson makes. It's called the Easy.
Uh-huh.
So it's got a palm trigger, a palm safety, like some of your 45s.
I've seen those.
And it's got a lot of other little mechanisms internally that make it safe.
Yeah.
And those I could see carrying in a purse.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
What do you think of the ones that, like, let's say it links to your smartwatch?
the
And
smart
and
guns.
only you can fire that weapon.
I don't like those because here's the thing: if let's say I'm incapacitated because my arm's not able to be used, or I'm trapped or something, and I want somebody to defend me, and I know they're capable of doing it, I can't let them use my firearm to defend me.
No, you can't.
I can't. I'm the only one that can use it.
Right.
That means if somebody's breaking into my house and my wife is there to try to defend herself, she can't use any of my firearms to defend herself.
She'd have to have her own.
She'd have to have her own. But if her own is not accessible because she left it in her car or something,
That's just stupid.
it is. But that's why I don't believe in those. I think it's just mostly training, using the proper equipment like trigger guards or holsters, and they even sell trigger guards for Glocks and other firearms for purses.
Sure.
You put it on your firearm, and it has a little tie. You could tie it down into a bag or something. So when you go to pull that firearm out of your purse or bag, the trigger guard comes off the firearm, and then you can use it instantly.
That's cool.
Very quick at it.
That's cool.
And so anybody who pocket carries, use a trigger guard, something. They even have little trigger guards. You could tie it down to the pocket in your pants. So when you go to pull it, that trigger guard comes off, and you got your firearm readily to use.
Well, a lot of the holsters that are made to be concealed, you're not going to be able to get to that trigger.
A lot of them have trigger guards.
Yeah.
That's why
Don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Yes. I saw a podcaster where he had a guest on his podcast that was pulling something out of his pants, and his firearm in his pants pocket discharged into the floor. And
I'm glad it was the floor.
yes.
But still, discharging a firearm in city limits.
That's a I don't know if it's a misdemeanor or a felony. It depends on the county.
Depends on the county.
Yeah. So with that, I believe everybody should be armed for the New Year's. I think that'd be a great thing to show the government I will not. You will not infringe on my rights.
Don't tread on me.
Don't tread on me. But yeah, if you are armed, if you do have a firearm, get training. Use the proper tools if you're going to carry.
You hear about the woman that got pulled over? And the cop comes to her window and license registration. She said, "I don't have those." I said, "What do you mean you don't have those?" And she's like, "I don't have those."
No,
He's like, "You want to check the glove box?" She's like, "No, I got my gun in there." He's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, it's the gun that I used to kill my wife. It's under the tarp in the back, or under my husband. It was under the tarp in the back." The cop's like, "Wait right here." Goes back to his car. Next thing you know, she's surrounded by cops.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So here comes the lieutenant up to her window. Did you tell my officer that you don't have? And went through the whole thing. She's like, "Well, yeah, I bet that son of a bitch said I was speeding too."
Yeah, I heard that one. That's a good joke. Is there any other resolutions you see for the American people to do? Other than be armed, get training, if you can be armed. Get
Be
training.
armed, get training, get healthy, and get involved in local politics.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, everybody wants to hear about Trump. They want to hear about Congress. They're paying attention to what's happening on Capitol Hill. What's happening in your backyard?
Yep.
Because that's where you're going to have influence.
That's true.
Talk to your county commissioners. Talk to your mayor. Talk to your supervisor of elections. Get to know these people.
Yeah.
If your city has a board of whatever, go sit in a meeting.
Yeah. You'd be shocked to learn what they're talking about and what they're trying to impose.
You will be shocked.
Um,
Now, I know Orange County, Florida, you can read the minutes of every single one of their meetings. You can watch them on the Orange County website. It's all available because it's freedom of information.
mm-hmm.
And this is all public information. So any of those, like, I've been through the minutes on those meetings, and like I told you before, it's basically talking about road repairs.
Yeah, and that's
And it can be boring, but at the same that's why I don't go to those meetings. I just read the minutes.
yes. And here's the thing, is if they're that boring, that's a good thing. If
Exactly.
they're talking about roads, it's a good thing.
It is.
Because I don't want our government to get huge and start infringing on our rights like California. That's why they're on fire.
Yeah.
They and that everybody's wanting change. Maybe the change has to start with us.
Amen.
With that, you got any more for this?
And the
little
change
thing?
the change starts local.
Change starts local.
Yes.
Sometimes
You're not gonna change Tallahassee until you change Orlando.
And sometimes you have to look for that change within you.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Not that I'm saying anything's really wrong with Tallahassee. They're doing fine.
Yes. But, we're pointing our fingers at our government and our officials.
There's 3 pointing back at you.
There's 3 pointing back at us. But with that, all I want is accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Good.
Got anything else, Joe?
I don't think so. I think that's a pretty good plan. If everybody in the nation could do those things, we would be in such a better
We would
situation.
be rock stars.
Yeah.
We'd be all glorious gods.
Talk about make America great again.
Yeah, there you go. It's got to start with you.
Yeah.
You and me. All right. With that, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment.